Hello, Big Man Daniel coming right back at you with the sauce pertaining to some interesting knowledge about how you can affect the world in Kenshi. Yes, you. Your actions can change the world and its inhabitants. The freedoms and goals of the many you share the world with, for better or for worse. Fling and cast stones into the water and see how the waves crash upon the shore. Look at the new that is left behind as the water washes and carries away the old. Kenshi is a tide-locked moon, meaning it produces no waves of its own, so it's up to you to get out there and throw big-ass rocks into the water and make some waves today. And we will see just how the world can change because of it. Now, everyone has their place in the world, and you can either help or destroy it in one way or another. Whether it helps your personal interests or we just feel like it. Your actions can expand their influence over the world or even remove it almost completely. Then there are a lot of incentives to do so. The game is actually pretty genius in helping you explore the system without outright telling you all about it. Let's go with the most common example most players will be able to relate to. Say you start this game and get your bearings, start to explore a little bit, you're having fun and all that. But then you happen to make, recruit, or find another character that is not a male human. In this example, let's say you and a friend from, let's say, the Shek, the horned guys. Probably one you met in Squin. And you want to see what's going on over in this part of the map called Akron's Pride. So you send your Shek friend over there to look around, maybe do some shopping, and things work differently over there because that's Holy Nation territory.
You're not welcome here, Dark Beast. This is blessed domain. Send them to rebirth. They are a skeleton in disguise.
So yeah, you might be incentivized to kinda want to get rid of that faction, and you can. But the world will react to their absence in unexpected and interesting ways. Your characters will even react to it when passing through their barren lands, noting the change in dynamics afterward, which is really cool and adds a lot of weight to your actions in this game. But for today, let's talk about a much smaller but still very interesting place with many moving parts. We are going to take a trip to the swamp, where drugs and crime are just as common as rainfall and blood spider swarms. So we can see how the gangs, their kingpins, and the average swamper coexist, and how we can change the balance of power in this damp anarchist heaven, deep in the lawless swamp of Kenshi.
You want to succeed, you gotta get your hands dirty.
Hey. You don't belong here. Who in hell's name are you? You're in Stone Red Patch, Shrimp, and if you wanna stick around, you're gonna need to know who's in charge. I run the patch and I run. You.
I was just passing through.
I'm famous around these parts and everyone knows to show me respect. You'd be wise to do so too, unless you want a messy bashing from me and my clan.
So, what do you want from me exactly?
Show me your respect. Bow to me. Dance for me. Surprise me. Cheat me. Alright. Phew. 10 out of 10.
You're too kind.
Make sure you come back again, sweet cheeks.
There are exactly 5 gangs out here in the swamps that hold some kind of influence, and 2 major bandit factions that we'll take note of. For the gangs, all 5 gangs are the Stone Rats, the most bandit-looking gang out here in the swamp. They control a whole village here, appropriately called Stone Rat Village, and is where their leader, Big Al, is located. They also patrol and hang around Shark, the main attraction of the swamp, so you have most likely seen them before. This gang mainly deals in strong-arming those too weak to fight them off with rackets and the like. In fact, they can also racketeer us, as they will harass player-built outposts in the swamp for protection money, meaning that you'll have to deal with them if you want to establish any kind of base here in the swamp. The Black Shifters. Notable for being comprised entirely of bugmen, this gang operates like a mafia or a bugman yakuza.
Who let this asshole in?
Ran by their Hiver Prince leader, Big Dark Brow. They can be found running the casinos around the swamp. The only method of gambling available in this game, a game they dub Cat Crawlers, which is a fascinating pastime designed to steal money from you, like all gambling is designed to do.
And we have a loser with a tryout!
Whoa, I had a plank. What are you doing to me, Hive? Those were my last cats? Damn it.
Them's the rules, better luck next time!
Chick Shay, this game is dog shit, I tell ya.
You'll be back! You'll be back!
The game they do here is actually a guess higher or guess lower. It takes a lot of trial and error to understand it through all the garble they add in, but there are key phrases to pick out to help understand the values at play. If you take the time to master it, you can actually make money out of it if done long enough, but it's still completely random. Think of it like blackjack. You can know how it works, but you won't always win because of it. One of the first things you can see in the major swamp town of Shark is this in action, with one of these bugmen swindling a bar patron with their game. The perfect thing to abuse intoxicated bargoers with nothing better to do.
It's 'cause you pinched the birds. I wanted to tickle the wheat with a buxom red. Go to hell, dealer. You can shove your roll back.
Learn to play better next time, amateur! I got full licks! The licks full, yo. You'll be back! You'll come! Crawling back for another game by nightfall, just like you always do! They don't call it cat crawlers for nothing.
Fine. 100 cats. Weep the Garou.
And after witnessing this, nothing is stopping you from going over and participating too.
Wanna play cat crawlers? Full 6 roll that gets the girl.
How do I play?
It's a quick learning game, traveler. Shoot through it and you'll be fine.
Sure, okay.
Okay, shooting off the curve and blowing out the big boys. Hey, we got a buxom red. Fishing with buxom red, rolling that rubber.
Fish.
Okay, blowing out and we're fishing with a buxom red. Holding the knockers and shooting off the curve. Cool, and they lifted with a stone roller. 200 cats. Congratulations, Outlander. Playing again?
The last main notable thing about the Black Shifters here is that they actually own this secret drug farm over by the Flats Lagoon, located here on the map. It's a large hydroponic hemp farm guarded by little security spiders, so be careful if you go to pay to visit and see it for yourself. The Gray Flayers. These guys are the main smugglers of the swamp, and the only ones with a real notable presence outside of it as well, as you can run into their smugglers out in the field, running drugs and blood rum to the United Cities for a fat profit. They also own a very cool bar out here in Shem that will buy illegal goods just as they do in the swamp. It's probably one of the coolest bars in the game and is very photogenic from all angles. Other than that, they do own their own village in the swamp where their leader, Gray, or actually, the Big Gray, that is, resides. You know what, in the beginning of this video, I actually called myself Big Man Daniel for some reason, so Maybe I came into making a video about the swamp more prepared than I realized. The Twin Blades. These guys are pretty hidden as far as small-time factions go, but they have a spooky reputation of organ harvesting and kidnapping. I wouldn't be surprised if you had never heard of them until now. This small gang of Scorchlanders is one of the most disliked and feared gangs in the swamp. Members can be rarely found roaming around the main city of Shark, but other than that, they just kinda hide out in this little hut in the village of Mudtown. So they don't even have a village of their own, making this the smallest scale gang in the swamp, with this hut being the only structure that they own. Inside of it, their leader named, with yet another fat big before their name, Fang lives as well. Finally, the Hounds. These guys with their leader, Big Grim, are the largest gang in the swamp, and they are the ruling clan of the most important town in it, Shark. They have a few raids and events that you can trigger from them as well, being the biggest faction, but we'll get into that later on. Well, now that we're aware and understand all of the gangs in the swamp, let's talk about the two bandit factions that hang around here. Unlike the gangs we covered, these two are very different. The Red Sabers and Swamp Ninjas are constantly after one another, and the rivalry is so fierce, it's on sight, no questions. It's not uncommon to see them duking it out with each other in the swamp. When you see damage numbers out in the distance, don't be surprised when it's these red and green cladded brigands coming to blows again. That is, when the blows aren't being directed at you, of course. They are both found roaming around the swamp and will attack players on sight most of the time, being bandit factions. So our options with them are pretty limited as far as interacting with them goes. But these guys are tied to world states, meaning if we kill their leaders or other leaders before them, it will affect the spawning rates and places under their control, and this will stop raids from them on player outposts as well. So now that we know the swamp is full of criminals, outcasts, bandits, drug lords, extortionists, and about every flavor of crime committing human out there, big and small, all in one humid cesspool, it's time to get out there and start making waves. Starting with the largest gang themselves, the Hounds. The Hounds have the most presence and most content to them, so we'll see what this large gang has to offer us as players, if we play ball and try and help reinforce their rule over the swamp. So this starts off pretty interesting. These guys get their very own quest line to follow. To start it, we need to get a proper audience with Big Grim, and for that, we need to locate a Hound member named Ears, and he will help us get in with this large swamp gang. It can usually be found in the Dancing Skeleton Bar.
Look it. Har har har, the bar sign is alive. Bird bird.
So, new in town, yeah? Well, newbie, you see. I'm known as Ears o' the Hounds in these swamps, alright? And if you want to get noticed round here, you gotta go through me. Yeah.
So can you help get me noticed?
Of course I can. Leave it to me, yeah? But I ain't one to do favors for any old chump, right? Gotta smooth me over then, it'll put in a good word for you, see? In the Hounds we got a saying, right? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. It's a huge fucking back-a-scratchin' round here, yeah? So, you pay me 2,000 cats, it'll get you an audience with Big Grim.
After that, if we head right over to the Hound headquarters, Big Grim will be interested in talking to us, and she will even have a mission for us.
New guy, eh? Heard you got something to say to me. Go.
I want to join the Hounds.
You do, eh? Well, you want to join the Hounds, you gotta work for the Hounds. You in or you out, newbie? Go.
In.
Alright, pup. I'm sending you on a smuggling mission. You're gonna take these packages, you're gonna dump them in the UC, you ain't gonna get sea-caught, and then you're gonna bring me back my profits. If you ain't back in a week, I'll kill ya.
So the funny part here is the amount of hashish... The amount of hashish she gives us to smuggle isn't actually enough to complete this quest, as it won't give us enough money. So, on our smuggler's run, we go ahead and stop at a village so we can buy a backpack and some extra drugs out of our own pockets to make sure we have enough to complete this quest, and we head to the closest southern United City town of Clownsteady. Now, this is the hard part. Approaching town gates can randomly trigger searches for illegal substances and stolen goods, so this trade is not without its risks. Thankfully, first time we were able to slip right past the guards as they pay us no mind. And before I know it, my backpack is much lighter and my wallet is much heavier. And I'm back on my way to report our success. Despite being able to do this in less than half a day, this quest will force you to wait a whole day before you can actually interact with Grim again. I just kinda chilled until she decided I was worth her time, and upon paying our boss the full amount, she was pretty happy. So happy, in fact, that after this, we were fully fledged members of the Hounds. These guys are kinda neat, to be honest. Now, as true members of the Hounds, our next mission is to establish an entire weed farm to help our fellow Hounds make bank. And we are given a gracious 10 building materials to do so. Much like the last mission, this is not nearly enough to complete our goal, but thankfully, we already have a very cool and cozy successful weed farm built and ready to go. So past this point, each week, the Hounds will come by to collect their share, assuming you're able to make a profit and you actually went out here to build the drug farm you were supposed to. Coming by to collect 2,000 cats each visit, which is pretty small. Not only that, but the raids from the stone rats will cease to happen entirely thanks to our new friends telling them to fuck right off. And since 2,000 cats is much less than the 3,500 that the stone rats demand each time, this seems to be the lesser evil of the two. But these aren't the only benefits of being a part of the Hounds. They will actually send reinforcements when other bandits and slavers try and raid us. And to be fair, these reinforcements are pretty damn strong, being Hound gang members. So in a sense, yeah, this is a pretty worthy arrangement. They are decent allies all in all, and is probably about the best way to go if you want to go about living in the swamp as cozy and comfortable as possible. So, the Hounds are probably, easily, the best gang to join. None of the other gangs mess with us, and they have the most to offer us for sure. Well, let's talk to the other gang leaders, and see how they compare to Big Grim and her Hounds if we join them instead. Let's start with the second largest influential gang, the Black Shifters. These guys' hideout is right here in Shark, and as soon as we enter it, they are not happy to see us in it.
What are you?
Darkbrow actually won't even talk to us, so joining this gang seems to be completely out of the question. They'll actually attack us if we stay here long enough, causing all of the Hounds in the town to turn hostile against the Black Shifters, promptly destroying Darkbrow without us actually needing to do anything. So next up is the Stone Rats. Let's see if Big Al has anything to say to us after all those raids he sent to our base. And nothing. He does not have any dialogue either. Neither does Gray or Fang. So it looks like the only gang we can actually join is the Hounds themselves, with Grim being the only leader we can actually speak to. So the only thing left for us to do is, I guess, try and help expand the influence of the Hounds by taking out the rival leaders. Let's see what Big Grim has to say if we start fetching all the leaders for her like the good Hounds that we are, and bringing them right to her doorstep. If we bring her Fang, she says this.
Ah ha ha hoy, Lil Fang. Looks like my Hounds are thirsty for blood. Let that be a warning to you, eh? Lucky I got 'em leashed. But they still like to play. See? Take him away. Double. Will you?
And cool off a bit, for fuck's sake. I ain't got no time for your shit.
An interesting interaction. It kind of feels like they're all just kind of friends out here in the swamp in a weird way. She reacts about the same way upon seeing each leader brought to her, except for Gray. He gets a little more dialogue. So I guess it looks like they're all just kind of good buddies out here in the swamp. Everyone has their role to play. The Stone Rats use force. The Black Shifters use gambling. The Greys smuggle and the Twin Blades do the dirty work with the Hounds at the very top of it all. It's kind of a fascinating ecosystem out here in the swamp where everyone benefits. So I guess we really can't help the Hounds out any. They have everything perfect already. So we just get to be a part of it like the other gangs are. As they say when you bring them Grey, we're just messing up the equilibrium. But what if we start trying to fuck it all up anyway? What are the consequences if we just go ahead and kill all of the other leaders despite Grimm's orders to just leave them be? What the fuck? So, after we make sure all of the other leaders are dead, Grimm won't actually have anything to say about it. And if we bring her one of their corpses, it's the same dialogue as if they're alive. So, with the other leaders dead and Big Grim alive, what happens to their hideouts? Well, let's check up on the Stone Rats. The Stone Rat village will actually be taken over by the Hounds, which is a good thing since they're our allies, so this is a good change. Also, one of their old hideouts gets turned into a much more useful shop, so another welcome change. Their protection rackets will also stop if we also didn't belong to the Hounds already if we do take out Big Al. So, all in all, good news for us and the Hounds with them gone. How about the Black Shifters? Well, these guys on the other hand don't seem to be bothered at all by the absence of Darkbrow. The casinos all run normally and the Black Shifters actually don't lose anything from his death, so nothing changes. The Grey Flayers on the other hand disappear entirely from their village, and the new ownership is now by generic, non-gang affiliated swampers, with their old gang hideout being replaced by a much better shop, like with the Stone Rats. And if we go to check out their bar in Shem, it seems like business as usual, so we don't lose the cool bar out here and the smugglers will still spawn like nothing happened. Finally, the Twin Blades in their shack in Mudtown are just chilling like nothing happened. The town and the shack is no different with their leader's absence, it seems. So, kind of a whole lot of nothing happened with massacring all the other leaders pretty much. So, let's see what happens to the Hounds if their leader Big Grim gets taken out of the picture, and see who's the first to take up the mantle of biggest gang in the swamp. With the death of Grim, the second she is gone, Shark is completely taken over by the Black Shifters, along with the Hound HQ now housing Black Shifter gang members. It's a pretty dramatic change. The Hound town of Rot seems to still be under control despite Grim's absence. Humorously, Big Darkbrow himself is still just chilling in his little shack despite owning the town HQ. So the swamp got pretty different there. But who takes over after Darkbrow is turned into Deadbrow? Let's drag this hiver into the swamp and give him the 3-finger bowling ball treatment. If Grim and Deadbrow are, well, dead, the town of Shark will then be ruled by the Grey Flayers, with their gang taking over the old Dancing Skeleton location and turning it into a Faction HQ building, with the old Faction HQ building is now turned into a new Dancing Skeleton, which is pretty interesting. So more or less, these two locations switch spots, which kind of threw me off when I came back to check in on the town. The Black Shifters on the other hand get their old hideout turned into a shop, but still, somehow, all of the casinos they own are up and running like nothing happened. But that's not the last of the changes. The Twin Blades also get a sneaky little hideout here in Shark, so it looks like they're moving up in the world as well. But there are some drawbacks to take note of with all these changes. With Grim and Darkbrow gone, the town of Shark is pretty weakened in this state, since no one actually owns it. There are no more gang members to patrol the town. Sure, the Grey Flayers are here, but they're actually just confined to the headquarters in town. Other than a small amount of generic swampers to man a harpoon or two, all entrances to Shark are left unguarded, meaning swamp critters and bandits will eventually overrun the town here since it's too weak to defend itself without the help of the strongest gangs. And now that they're basically gone, we kind of see that this is the equilibrium that the Hounds were trying to keep in balance. So, let's see how much worse things can get if we murder Big Grey. With Grim, Darkbrow, and Gray no longer in action, this is where we see the swamp start to fall apart. First off, the town of Rot, formerly owned by the Hounds, is now actually overrun by blood spiders and has become a sizable nest for them, with the building interiors becoming trash and abandoned. This old village is now nothing more than a cesspool of blood spiders. As for the town of Shark, with no clear leadership, infighting in the town has somehow increased even more than it regularly is, with no one to put a stop to the fighting. The dancing skeleton does return to its former location, and the old headquarters dome is now just vacant and empty and is up for sale, with Big Al and Big Fang unwilling to try their hand at taking over the town of Shark, it seems. With the absence of Gray, the Twin Blades are seemingly kicked out of their new hideout, and surprisingly, the Black Shifters have reclaimed their old hideout, much like how things were before, but they're still leaderless. Despite that, somehow, the Black Shifters are still running these damn casinos just fine. In none of the town overrides has a single casino been put in jeopardy or shut down in the slightest. It's fucking terrifying. They're like the Waffle House of Kenshi. Blood spider swarms, riots in the streets, bandit raids. So, wanna play cat crawlers? What about the Greyflayer village? How's that place doing now with their leader gone? Now, this is actually something that caught me by surprise when I went to check it. The Band of Bones, a minor Shek faction, had taken over the town and moved their leader in and everything. These guys rarely spawn in the swamp, but I never knew they could actually take anything over, let alone a swamp village. They just straight up moved in. So, the swamp now has 3 bandit factions living in it now. Amazing. So at this point, the only leaders left are Big Al and Big Fang, the Stone Rats and the Twin Blades respectively, both hiding in their own little villages. So, let's see how they're getting on. It seems like the Stone Rats are doing just fine, but let's see what happens when Big Al is taken out. So, if we do get rid of Big Al, Stone Rat Village seems to get taken over by swamp ninjas, which makes sense since their headquarters are pretty much located right behind the village. And with the Stone Rats gone, this village just becomes another bandit camp, more or less. Even if we kill the swamp ninja leader, the town will always remain under their control from this point on. And then, with Big Fang, the last leader, even if he's killed, nothing gets changed in Mudtown, meaning the Black Shifters, of course, get to keep their casino no matter the state of the swamp. With every faction in the swamp destroyed, the only one that is left is the Red Sabers, the other bandit faction, and killing their leader only lowers their natural spawns and stops raids on your base. But at this point, everyone of importance would be dead, and the swamp is eerily quiet. So, I guess killing everyone in the swamp doesn't do much to improve it very much. But it is interesting how things change and how we can change them if we wish, which is one of the things that makes this game amazing in its own little way. All that is left of any real substance is of course the Black Shifters and their predatory casinos, and the swarms of river raptors and blood spiders outside with no one to deal with them anymore. So, I guess all that's left to do is play some cat crawlers.
Okay, shipping off the spirit and pouring out the deploys. We have Luxorland, with Luxorland on that rumor. Okay, going on with Luxorland.